Hi guys, I'm currently still reviewing the Huawei Mate 8 and I see this phone getting a lot of flack for one particular thing, the software and the UI in general. In this video I want to take the time, show off all the pros and all the cons and let you know what I personally think of it, if it's really that bad or if all the flack is for no particular reason. So let's start just with the first pro, which I think would be the lock screen quick apps. All you have to do is swipe up, you have the audio recorder, calculator, flashlight and camera. Audio recorder is something that I really don't think is so useful, but the other three are quite nice, so that's definitely a nice bonus to have. The next thing would be the heavily improved, even though not much has changed actually, quick settings, because the great thing is, I always complained about one thing, not having this option, shortcuts not being displayed. I always had all of them and I could just rearrange them. Now I can finally make some of them not to be displayed, which I definitely like. The one missing thing though is no auto sync quick tile anymore, but at least now I can change them, which is already nice. Which is also quite nice, one option is if you swipe from the left you go to the notifications. If you swipe from the right you have a quick pull down to get to your quick settings, which is really nice. This is also configurable in the settings, which you can also make it be smart pull down, and then it always uses what it thinks is the best, because if you have some notifications it will show them, if not it will show the shortcuts, but I actually prefer the quick pull down for the quick settings. The next thing would be kind of a pro and a con, that would be the themes engine. Because as you can see, we have a themes engine and we have things like screen lock, style lock screen, home screen and icons. But pretty much all it does, it changes the general UI a little bit in terms of colors and then puts on some really ugly icons. That's it pretty much, and I don't really see an app or a theme store where I could download more of them. Maybe you can do this manually, but at least I didn't find it. Please correct me if I'm wrong. So that's a pro and a con. The next thing would be the quite nice, even though not stock design, because if you can see this doesn't look anything like stock, and it's more just from the behavior in terms of pre-lollipop times. But I actually think we have some nice animations here and a few things definitely has been done. You have to maybe get used to it, but if you aren't maybe really used to something like stock Android, I think the UI looks quite nice. And the next thing actually would be the really nice first party app design, because things like the calculator, as you can see here, look quite minimalistic and stylish. Also the calendar I think looks really nice here. We have a week view, for the day view, the months, and I think it really looks quite nice. Also the clock, which has some nice little things, like if you for example use the timer, set the time, you can see this bouncing around. So there are a lot of minor things, but I really think it makes a difference, and I think it actually looks quite nice. The next thing would be the heavily improved recent apps menu, because I didn't like it at all. Before we had the 4-card icon view, and now we finally have something that is actually usable. Because what I really like, if you are in one app, you press the last app is in the middle, so this makes it quite intuitive if you want to jump from one app to the last one, and you have the actual recent one and the one before here quite easily available. You can free all of them, which is definitely nice, and I really prefer this actually even over stock Android, because it's way easier to use. One thing that I'm also a little bit missing though is because we have multi-window. If we long press here, and now you could change and use dual screen, but what we had before on the EMUI was an option for you to long press the recent apps menu and then it would switch automatically to the last app. This option kind of seems gone, but at least we have quite a quick way to get to the last app, which is absolutely nice enough for me. We also have one thing that is, and I hope I will find it easy enough, because that is actually one of the cons. It is a little bit hard to find certain things, and as you can see I am already searching for it. It is smart assistance navigation bar. We have options to change the navigation bar, which I definitely like, because I prefer the back button to be on the right side, and you can also add an open notification panel. So that is definitely one thing that I like. And one thing that I like, which makes maybe not a big difference, but the icons itself are way closer to each other, as for example on stock Android, where this button would be something like here, and if you have a big device it's very hard to reach all the way up, and since they are quite narrow it's really easy to handle them, and that is definitely something really small but makes a whole lot of a difference. So the next thing to talk about would be something that I think I've pretty much seen the first time, and that is the view mode, because you can change it in 3 different sizes, and this is something if you maybe low custom ROMs to have root support and can change the eye. This is something in general that it does, because you have the option for large, and as you can see here is a preview what you will see. So everything is very large. We also have medium, and one thing that I like is small, because on a device like this big, we have the option to have a real big screen real estate, and this in consideration, or this in combination with the smaller font size, gives you a whole lot of a big real estate. Something like that of like medium, as you can see here, shows off a lot less information, and I think I've seen this the first time on any UI so far, and I definitely love it. The next thing would be color temperature control. As you can see here, we have the option to go from very, very warm to very, very cold. Not quite sure how well the camera picks it up, but it's definitely enough to adjust the white point to your level. The next thing would be under smart assistance, and that would be knuckle control, if I will find it. It's under motion control, I think. Yes, we have options. For example, if we do a double tap, it will just make a screenshot. We also have drawing options, because for example here, if you draw a C, it will open the camera. If you draw an M with the knuckle though, if I will get it to work, as you can see, it opens the browser. What else do we have? You can also use, for example, W, and it will launch the camera. These are customizable, but I would have actually wished for you to be able to set more than just these letters, because you are limited to C, E, M, and W, and you can choose whichever app you want. You can see them here. This is definitely a really cool idea, and it actually works quite good this time. I didn't really have an issue. As you saw, C opens the camera, and it's actually quite fast, and definitely something nice. It's maybe not a groundbreaking thing that you will use all the time, but it's nice to have. And you have the dual gesture, which you just do with the knuckle, but as you can see here, we don't have it. And I also have to say, that's maybe more of a con than a pro. We have dual window, but it pretty much doesn't work on any app. The next thing, and actually last pro that I found so far, is the one-hand UI. So all you have to do is slide from one side or to the other, and you will have a lot smaller screen, which you can then actually use really easily. I think that's kind of like 4 inches, which makes it actually really easy to use this device with one hand. Now, let's go to the cons. As I already said, a very ugly icon theme. So the icons don't really look nice, and that's actually the second thing, because as you can see here, we don't have an app drawer. Not the end of the world. I would definitely highly recommend to use something like Nova Launcher, and then use a proper, actually nice looking icon pack to get around that. It's definitely not hard to install, and it makes up for a lot of tips. I don't really see these two things as a con. If you use it stock out of the box, maybe, but if you don't, don't. The next thing would be the slightly cluttered settings, because especially if you see this here looks quite organized and quite easy to find, but you also maybe saw throughout the video that I had a hard time finding certain things, because there are so many options, a little bit harder to find. It's a little bit in advanced settings, there are so many things, and just something as simple to see your battery stats, you have to go to settings, advanced settings, battery manager, then power usage details, then consumption level, then hardware and phone, for example. You can make a little bit of a quick shortcut if you use the consumption level directly here, but yeah, that's definitely something that could have been maybe handled a little bit easier, because some things are a little bit hard, and also notification panel. But it's definitely nice, and you can get used to it. You will have a little bit of a time where you have to find things, but once you have all set up, it should be quite fine. I don't see this as a too big of an issue. The next thing would be definitely one of my main gripes here, and it is the annoying battery management that seems to actually cripple some things. Because if we go into the battery manager, there is a thing like called protected apps, and here you should really make a good idea or think about it, what you will actually use, and give it the protected apps, because these apps won't get killed once you turn off the screen or in some other situations. And I use the ones that I definitely want to have always on, like Phoenix for my Twitter, GSAM to read my battery stats, Hangouts to get messages, and for example G+, which I actually forgot, and maybe some other things. But even though this is under protected app, things like Phoenix, I often didn't get my notifications. They were always missing. And something like, for example, GSAM, which usually shows me my battery, as you can see here, it's kind of reads it completely wrong, because it says 1 day and 18 hours and says 24 hours almost of screen time, which in reality is something closer to slightly over 6. So this is what I mean with crippled sync. Just things like Phoenix don't always get working. Also, some notifications come in late. This could be a little bit because of those as well, but I think it's definitely something more than here is. And one thing that is actually missing here on this device, we don't have double tap to wake anymore. They kind of got rid of it for some unknown reason. So these are my pros, these are my cons. in overall, I gotta say, I actually like the UI. You have to get used to it, but I don't really see the few cons as too bad, because what did we have? We had the icon pack that looks ugly. You can get rid of that with a third-party launcher, same as for no app drawer. The settings, once you have them set up, you should get used to it also as well. Double tap to wake isn't an issue, since you will always use the fingerprint reader anyways, or just the power button, which is placed absolutely perfectly. But then there's the battery management thing, which is actually the only one legit issue that I have with, because once it gets a little bit more time to get to know my behavior, it will adjust things, because I noticed from other Huawei devices, then it will be okay. But some things like this not working, even though I have it set under protected apps, is something a little bit odd to see. They have a little bit too of an aggressive battery management, but that's actually so far it. The UI definitely is okay once you have a little bit of tweaking going on. It's capable. It has already with, as you can see here, 6.0, the pretty much latest version of Android with EMUI. It's capable, it does all the things it should. It's pretty much bug free. I didn't run into any issues here. We have all the stock Android options with a few more enhancements, like as you saw, the home screen style is changeable. As you can also see, you have a simple mode. We had notification panel options for display carrier name, as you can see here. And you can even show the display. You can display the network speed here, which is something that you don't really get on many devices. And things like I showed you already in the pros, do not disturb and all that works fine. We have smart assistants with motion control, a floating dock option, which I actually didn't show because I don't find it to be useful, but it's nice to have things like that. So this is pretty much it, and I think in overall, I'm actually really pleased with the UI. It's definitely not as bad as many want you to believe. They always say they have to fix the software for Huawei devices to be great, but I don't have an issue. I could use this UI as my daily driver without any issues, and that's why this device also, from me, won't get a flag just because of the software. That's it for my kind of EMUI 4.0 on Marshmallow review or overview, pros and cons video. Let me know in the comments if you agree on those pros and cons, if you have some other gripes with this UI, if it's just a design that you don't like and is a deal breaker for you or not, if you actually maybe used it already and like it. All of that, leave me that in the comments. Also, if you have any questions, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, then you know what to do. And if you want more videos like this, especially maybe something like the UI overviews that I will do from other devices, just keep that in mind. Okay, until next time, bye.